This is With the First Pick, the CBS Sports NFL Draft Podcast. Rick, this is episode 106. We're getting there. I'm Ryan Wilson. That, of course, is Rick Spielman. Today, we're talking the biggest steals of the 2023 NFL Draft through 14 weeks of the NFL season. And you might remember, we graded every rookie first-rounder back at the midway point of the season. And now that we're about three-quarters of the way through the whole process here, we're going to grade some of the rookie second-rounders and talk about whether some of them should have been taken in round one or perhaps drafted a little later than they actually were. But first things first, in case you missed it, Tuesday, Rick and I looked at how the rookie quarterbacks performed in Week 14. Tommy DeVito and Will Levis were at the top of the list. What a time to be alive. I told you, Rick, back in August that we'll be talking up Tommy DeVito in Week 14 for great reasons. What would you have said to me?
I would have said you were right on with your evaluation of him, and you knew something everybody else in the world didn't know. So kudos to you, Ryan Wilson.
Man, thank you. I would have said thank you very much, and then you would have had me committed because that would have been an absolutely crazy thing to say. But here we are. Will Levis played well, too. That's certainly less of a surprise. And, of course, we talked about our top five rookies on the defensive side only. And if you missed it, got a lovely little message from our colleague, Lige Douzable. Big fan of Kobe Turner before the season, and he wanted to send Rick a little few words of encouragement in the debate. I think he ended with learn the game, Rick.
Yeah, and I appreciated that. So
yeah. You did like it. You were.
It was hilarious. I appreciated the effort that went into it. I still don't agree with him because there's a long way to go before we put Kobe Bryant in the Hall of Fame.
Kobe Turner, but Kobe Bryant's already in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Before we think that he's going to be the Kobe Bryant of the NFL.
There you go. That is fantastic.
I do give him credit for the season that he has had so far.
So you can check that show out in the old podcast feed, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that Rick's in his brand new, shiny 10,000 square foot office. You look great, Rick. What's going on over there? Tell us about the footballs back there because you told us a fun little story about them.
Yeah, no, the Viking footballs are the ones that when I lost the game balls in a hurricane, that the Wolf family replaced every single one of my game balls, which is incredible of them to do. Didn't have to do that, but just tells you what type of ownership group and type of people they are. There's a Miami Dolphin game ball that I had when I was down with the Dolphins, and then this one, the other way.
You're still learning your left from your right.
Yeah, it is the Bears and the Packers game ball when I was with Chicago, and it was the week that Walter Payton died, and we ended up beating Chicago that week. Didn't have a great year, but that was a big win for us to beat Green Bay. And the ownership, the McCaskey family, presented everybody with a game ball in honor of Walter Payton.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. All I have behind me, of course, Rick, is the old official With the First Pick Draft countdown board. And it costs, I'm trying to think if there's anything that costs less on this countdown board in your background. And I don't see even that fax machine back there that Debo was making fun of that you got off of eBay. How many days we got, Rick?
We have 133 days until the 2024 NFL Draft and 33 days before I won't get yelled at for yelling at Ryan Wilson.
January 15th, I've marked it down. And now you've got me excited about the confluence of the days until draft board and the number of episodes we've done. So that's going to be an exciting time when those two numbers merge into one. So,
Debo, while you're directing or producing or whatever the heck you do behind that curtain back there or behind the window, I don't know where you're at, to be honest with you. Is there any chance that maybe someday we can get like a fancy countdown clock with a sponsor on it?
I think the answer is one that you know. I like the thought around the sponsor, but that board is sticking around.
Debo likes the old school thrown together last minute element of the board. And
That's like when you slap your first dollar earned on the wall. Like you don't want to replace that. Like it's meaningful.
Is that like a stand that they put in high school where the band puts their music sheets on?
That is actually, you know what? That's a great idea. It's actually just a tripod stand. But my son, 12-year-old, has the music stand. I should be using that. Good job. Yeah. Good call, Rick. Look at that. All right. Remember, leave us a 5-star review. Just because you like the show, but also if you want to nominate an FBS or FCS college player who, of course, is draft eligible, and we'll talk about him, and we're going to start doing that again in the near term. We have some names on the list to get to. And finally, if you like what we do here, tell a friend. And if one of your buddies happens to be a friend of a team, a fan of a team that stinks, this is the podcast for them. Rick, I wanted to ask you something quickly about this. I was listening to a podcast. They're talking about Justin Fields and the Bears and what they should do. You talked about your time with the McCaskies in Chicago. If you're the front office, and there's a lot of time to figure this out in terms of you're going to have the first overall pick most likely because it belongs to the Panthers, and that's not going anywhere. Justin Fields is playing better. How much consideration are you giving to trading Justin Fields if you love Caleb Williams or Drake May? Or because here's my question that I keep coming back to. It's going to not be an immediate turnaround process if you get a rookie quarterback in there, but Justin Fields will be going into year 4. You have cap space if that's your concern. How much consideration are you giving to all that?
Yeah, if I can respectfully disagree.
With which part?
Well, with the whole damn thing, but I'm sorry, I got 33 days. I will
the whole darn thing.
Yes, I will respectfully disagree on the rookie quarterback because did you not think that C.J. Stroud had a major impact on Houston's turnaround this year?
He did, but that feels like a one-off, not something that you can expect year in and year out. Do you disagree with that?
Yeah, well, no, I agree with you 100%. But I'm just saying you put it to there's no way possible any rookie quarterback can come in. And the only reason I'm going to disagree with you, respectfully,
of course,
disagree with you. I would never disrespectfully disagree with you until 33 days from now.
Right. Clock's ticking.
Is that they went out and Montez Sweat made a huge difference on their defense so far. They're playing better on defense. TJ Edwards and Edmonds are starting to make a bigger impact. They have to keep Josh Johnson. Is it Jones? The corner.
Jalen Johnson.
Jalen Johnson.
Yeah.
From Utah.
The cornerback, right.
Yeah, that's playing very well. So the defense has actually played a lot better. And I think Montez Sweat has really added to that. You already have DJ Moore. You have a good stable of running backs. So there are a lot of pieces that may already be in place. So the question is, and when you're in these meetings during the offseason, if we trade Justin Fields, what are we going to get for him? I mean, what's the lowest we would ever? Was it we don't get a first rounder, we're not considering it, or does it have to be a second rounder plus? So you have to decide on the compensation if you want to trade Justin Fields. But if you go down that road and you can't trade him, then you have an issue on your hand with Justin Fields. So
yeah.
You have to, and then if it's Caleb Williams, and if he's a too unique to pass up, I don't think you can pass up a unique quarterback, which I've said numerous times. But are we a better football team if Justin Fields finishes strong like he has been over these next 4 weeks, and we add maybe a Marvin Harrison or another tackle or another pass rusher? How good will our football team be then compared to taking a young rookie quarterback, going back to your theory, that may set us back for a little bit before the rookie quarterback gets going?
Yeah.
So those are all the things that you're going to be discussing.
Yeah, the trade compensation is something I was thinking about today when I was walking the dog in my sub-zero temperatures up here. The other thing is, if you do trade down, if you're going to roll with Justin, how concerned are you about trading out of the Marvin Harrison sweepstakes? Because you don't want to get caught at 5.
Well, that's the thing that you have to understand, and you have to understand other teams' needs. So if you say, okay, we trade down past Arizona, well, he's assuming that New England takes a quarterback, if they're number 2, then we're going to lose Marvin Harrison Jr. Is it worth it or not? Those are the decisions in all the situations that you go to prior to the draft, so you can have ample time to discuss all those type of scenarios.
All right, we'll get into that. I was just thinking about that today as I was walking and trying not to freeze to death while you're enjoying the 72-degree weather down there.
It was 61 this morning when I went out with the dogs.
Oh, sweet mercy. I hope you wrapped up.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, good. Whew. I mean, you've gotten soft so quickly. You spent over a decade in Minnesota. You grew up in the Midwest.
About 17 years in Minnesota, more than a decade.
And you grew up in Ohio, and now you put on a sweater.
Worked in Chicago, worked in Detroit.
Jeez, a pizza. You're soft down kids playing in the ball games. What's next?
I don't know. I have to move south during the winter. I need to go
souther.
Souther to the Ecuador.
All right, let's get to it, Rick. If you like what we do here, just hit the old thumbs up on the YouTube machines. Help us spread the word. But today, I'm going to start off talking about some of these rookie steals. 3 biggest steals of the 2023 NFL draft so far. We'll go back and forth, but I'll let you go first. Who's the first name you would like to talk about?
I can't help but bring up Sam Laporta.
Let me set this up here. 34th overall pick, second tight end off the board after Dalton Kincaid. Went to the Lions.
Yeah, and the way he's been playing, I mean, there's no question that he could have been drafted easily in the first round. And I'd make an argument with him versus Kincaid. Now, Kincaid's had a really good year with Buffalo ever since Knox was injured, but Knox has come back. But it seems like Kincaid and Josh Allen have a thing going. But the way Jared Goff and Laporta's connection, I think, has been very good, especially down this stretch here. And we talked about on an earlier podcast where it seems that any critical third down situation, they're going to Laporta. I think he had 4 key third down conversions. I believe it was versus New Orleans, and the touchdown on a third down. So there's no question about the athleticism and his receiving skills, but I've been even more impressed with him as a blocker and how he's developed as a blocker and some of the critical blocks that he makes. It helps that run game go. So I honestly believe that and TJ Hawkinson is a very productive tight end, Pro Bowl type receiving tight end. But I think that they are very excited about having Laporta at the contract they have him at compared to what they would have had to pay TJ Hawkinson, who Minnesota just recently extended.
I agree. Everything. I mean, there's no pushback there. And in fact, I think there's maybe not an easy case, but certainly easy to see him being a first-round pick. He probably should have been. And again, we mentioned on the last show that we'll go through at the end of the season here and grade these rookie draft classes. And I talked about the Rams. The Lions are going to be up there. And their draft was, quote-unquote, unconventional in that no one thought they needed necessarily a running back or a linebacker in the first round. But they took those players, and they're huge parts of what they do. And then I'm saying Laporta is also a big part of that offense. So no pushback there. First-round pick. And you had said that during the draft process. People were sort of sleeping on Laporta. What happens when you play in that Iowa offense is hard to sometimes tell. And
yeah, he was an expert flat route runner. That's all they ran him with.
I know I asked you this during the time, but so you watch every single target he's ever got in Iowa to get do you watch high school tape? Like, how do you know that he's going to be?
You're not going to go back to high school.
I'm joking about that part, but I'm just trying to figure out how you figure out what he is.
Yeah, well, a lot of that can be when they go to these pro days or these private workouts and actually have him run routes that he'll be running in your system, and the coach is actually working with him.
Okay.
And I understand it's a workout, but the way he catches the ball, we talked about soft hands versus hard hands when we were at pro days last year.
Yeah.
And we watched Marvin Harrison Jr. It was like throwing into a mattress. I mean,
you wouldn't let me talk about him. He said I couldn't be talking about Marvin.
No, you couldn't talk about him. So, but and he's just, I think he had great workouts, ran faster, and some people, I didn't go that far, but a lot of people within that organization thought he was comparable to George Kittle.
George Kittle was a day 3 guy.
Yep.
Was that because he was stiff, quote unquote?
Undersized and then pass catcher, but he did give great effort as a run blocker.
Yeah.
But that wasn't in vogue back when he came out. Everybody was looking for the traditional Y.
Yeah. No pushback on Sam Laporta. I appreciate the call. I was not surprised to see the Detroit line pop up here on your list, but this one I cannot push back on. I'm going to go with the guy that you knew I was going to pick, and I was shocked that you didn't call him out just so I wouldn't do it. Mr. Puka Spielman.
I am not. I gave you all the low-hanging fruit. I went down and kind of dug deep. You knew I was going to go into the lion well.
Yeah.
But no, Puka. What can you say about Puka? I want to hear why he's so fascinating to you.
So among all the rookie receivers and tight ends, he's first in snaps played. He's first in the Rams team target percentage. He's targeted on almost 30% of the throws. What else is he doing? He leads this class in receptions. He has 82 catches.
That's a lot of catches.
He has 1,100 yards. That's first among all the rookies. Just 4 touchdowns. He's slacking there. In fact, your guy might have a few more touchdowns. They have Sam has 6. Sam has scored 6 touchdowns already. And on it goes. We know what he can do, and they use him in a variety of ways. They use him at all 3 levels. He showed that he can be a contested catch type guy. He's shown in that seam route against who were they playing that we talked about last week, that 80-yard seam where he outran everyone to the end zone. The Browns, remember that? Just put the ball in his hands. Stafford put it right on him, and that was a wrap. He's shown he can run just about every route. He blocks. He's using the run game. I did my redraft a few weeks ago just for fun. We talked about it on the show, and then I did it for the website, cbsports.com. I had Puka going in the first round. You okay with that?
The way he's played, you can't argue that.
I was waiting to hear this argument.
Yeah, but if you knew everything you knew going into the draft, the people would think you were nuts drafting him there in the first round.
The draft would also be a lot easier if you knew everything ahead of time.
Yeah, if you knew, this guy's going to have close to 100 catches as a rookie. Okay, I don't care about the injury, the durability concerns, the lack of showing out at the Senior Bowl, but you give the kid credit. He is a very good football player, and that's something that you cannot lose sight of.
I'll let you guess here. Of all the wide receivers, which one was he? Was he wide receiver 1? Was he wide receiver 200? Like, where do you rank among the rookie wide receivers in the draft order?
9?
He was wide receiver 20.
20. Wow.
He went just ahead of Parker Washington, who's getting some run now in Jacksonville because of injuries, and just behind Dontavian Wicks, who's flashed at times, but hasn't been the primary target in Green Bay. But man, oh man, if only we could see into the future, Rick, we'd be a lot better off in terms of evaluating these guys. All right, 2 first-round picks so far.
I could see in the future. I wouldn't be sitting with you here on this podcast right now either.
Oh, man. I don't even take that personally. All right.
It's a compliment.
Yeah, it really is. Your next guy, Byron Young, edge rusher out of Tennessee. We talked about him a few weeks ago, too, some of these young players, rookies that have flashed that we haven't really talked about. What do you got on Byron Young?
Yeah, I mean, 3rd rounder. I went back and watched some tape. We talked about him earlier in the season and how he's showing up as a pass rusher. They play him a lot from a 2-point, but he has really come on to get pressure on the quarterback. He had a sack versus Baltimore on a counter inside move over the right tackle. Plays with energy, effort. If he can ever get to double-digit sacks, this kid has potential Pro Bowl ability in him, the way he's playing. Now, the concerns about him coming out, I believe, were his age at the time. There was no question about how hard he played for Tennessee. He's not as physically gifted with all the physical traits that a Will Anderson has, but he plays with that same kind of motor and that same kind of energy. And he's been a real pleasant surprise. And this is, again, credit to the Rams and Les Snead for finding a Young and a Puka. And guys like that are making major contributions to their team this year. And Kyron Williams as well, and the contribution he's made. They've been right on all of these, and not having a 1st-round pick, but you're getting value from these guys that are playing way higher than they were selected, which is, again, credit to the scouting staff out at the LA and to the coaches developing these guys.
I'm getting someone in my ear. Lee J said, "How could you forget Kobe Turner?"
Oh, I forgot about him.
But Byron has had a fantastic season, and he leads the rookies in sacks with 6. He's 2nd in hits at 17. He's pressure rate. The time he gets to the quarterback or pressures the quarterback per attempt is 11.5%, which is also 8. So he is across the board doing everything that you want him to do. And the numbers match up with what you've seen on tape because he's a spark plug. He is undersized in terms of expectations coming in, and the age was a concern, but neither of those things seem to be a problem right now.
No, good football player.
Good football player. Next up, another good football player. Let me ask you, Byron Young, how high would he have been drafted if you had to redraft?
I still think some people would have looked at him as more of a DPR instead of him. If he has any issues, it's going to be hold up at the point in the run game. But I would say that maybe in the second round, I don't know if he can squeak at the bottom of the first, but you got a guy like Philly took, Debo, that is way
Nolan
more
Smith.
talented athletically, Nolan Smith out of Georgia, but really hasn't made his mark yet in the NFL. And even does Kansas City maybe look at him there instead of Felix?
Yep. No, that's right. All right, my next guy, again, low-hanging fruit, as Rick might describe it, Devon Achane.
Oh, God. Boy, you really dug deep on these.
Yeah. I thought you never heard of him, and I was wrong. Apparently, people do know about Devon Achane. It turns out he's pretty special. He was hurt there for a stretch, battled a knee injury, came back. But before he went out, he was absolutely explosive. I would imagine playing in that offense has something to do with it, but it's hard to not give him the credit in terms of the speed at which he plays. And we talk about it all the time. He will run between the tackles. He can be an asset in the pass game. And when we talked to him at the combine, he joked that I asked him, have you ever been caught from behind? He goes, I don't even know what that feels like. I have no experience with ever being caught from behind. And that continues to show up here. So Devon Achane, he's one of the biggest steals in the draft because he ended up being a third-round pick, 84th overall. He was running back 6. So let's go down the list and you tell me when you're taking Devon Achane. Bijan went 8th. Bijan.
Mm-hmm.
Jahmyr Gibbs went 12th.
Jahmyr.
Zach Charbonnet was the next one at 2. It was the end of the second round.
That he's going before Zach.
Okay, so he's now running back 3. Yeah, I think that's right. So, I mean, explosive in every way you want it to be. So, what's this, Debo? What are we talking about here?
That was from our redraft a couple of weeks ago, just talking about
Byron
Young.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank you. Yeah. So, Rick redraft, you had Byron Young going to the Raiders, Rick. I had them taking Will Levis at number 7. So, you really liked him.
Oh, yeah. I really like this kid.
Of course, Tyree Wilson must have listened to that podcast because he's playing better now. So
he played pretty good against the Vikings.
So you're making everyone better around you. All right, your next guy up, unfortunately, will not be playing this week. I think he has a knee injury, which is terrible news for this Browns team, man, because they can't catch a break health-wise. But DeJuan Jones, 4th-round pick, 111th overall, 18th offensive lineman off the board. We saw him day one of the Senior Bowl until he called it wraps. I think he had a concussion-like symptoms. He was dominating, folks. DeJuan Jones has been fun to watch.
Yeah, and he's on IR now, so he's done for the season. Had to get knee surgery, didn't play last week against Jacksonville, but he looked a little bit heavier legged down the last couple of games than he did when we did him earlier in the season. Yeah. I think he started to look, I mean, I can't tell if he's bigger or not bigger. He's just a big human being.
That's the great thing about being close to 400 pounds. You can't tell 380 from 420.
It's 380 or 420, but he's big. He moves people in the run game, although he's not as athletic as you'd like at the second level, but he's just so hard to get around in pass protection. Towards the end here, whether it was his knee bothering him or weight gain, which I don't know if he gained weight or not, but there were some issues with counters back to the inside versus finesse type rushers. But for the most part, he's been very solid across the board. And when Conklin got hurt and he got his opportunity to go in and start, I think they found the right offensive tackle if he can stay healthy and if he can maintain his weight. If he doesn't, then he's going to be probably taken, or probably should have been picked where he was taken. But He is playing way better than that.
Who has had a better rookie season at right tackle, DeJuan Jones or his former teammate Paris Johnson Jr., who played left tackle last year for Ohio State?
I think Paris Johnson Jr.
Okay, you think so?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's close.
I would say it's close, but
yeah,
watch the later tape on it looked like that rookie wall was starting to creep up on him a little bit.
Yeah, hard to imagine that wall could contain him, but maybe the rookie wall is the only one that can. But great season for DeJuan, and I'm glad that he was able to prove some folks wrong, and hopefully, he keeps his mind focused. We'll revisit DeJuan perhaps when we talk about possible things we missed. That's probably a pretty easy answer. He didn't work out, and the weight was a concern, and then he seemed to have that under control. Is there anything else we missed in terms of his evaluation?
No, it was the shut it down after one dominant day at the Senior Bowl. It was not stepping on the scale at the pro day. It was all mismanaging the pre-draft process.
Yeah.
Or
And that,
a lot of people, going into the process, I think you would agree that a lot of people had him as a low 1, early 2,
yeah. Nope.
second-round pick.
No doubt about it. Because that's how dominant he was when he played Ohio State. All right, my last guy here in terms of the biggest steals of the 2023 NFL draft so far, DJ Turner. We haven't talked about him, only in passing. Michigan cornerback. I think he ran like sub 4.3, and that shows up. And I kept seeing him on the broadcast, just coming down and smacking people and then making plays at the catch point. And I was like, all right, let me go back and watch him because I haven't really paid attention to the secondary of the Bengals. He was the 60th overall pick, second round, DB 11 off the board, and he is fast. He is very fast, and he got beat a few times deep. DK Metcalf got him once. There's no crime in losing to DK Metcalf. Deontay Johnson caught a go ball on him, and it was contested catch, great play. And we talked about him the other day, coming downhill and smacking people and throwing his body around like he's a strong safety. I love the way he plays. He's very good in coverage on most routes. They line him up mostly outside. He'll play slot occasionally. And I thought he was a good get for that secondary. They have Cam Taylor-Britt. Is Cam Taylor-Britt another young man you knew growing up?
No, he went to Nebraska, though, played with my son at Nebraska.
Oh, okay. And Cam Taylor-Britt's having a fantastic season when he's been healthy. And I think DJ Turner's been a nice addition there. Dax Hill, DJ's former teammate, is now playing safety, the former first-round pick, and he's doing some things. But I was impressed by what DJ did. I don't know if he was sneaking to the first round because the first-round guys, even Emmanuel Forbes has picked up a little bit, are doing okay. And there are some of these cornerbacks that played really well, both in the first round and day 2 guys. And we'll talk about one of those in a second. But fun watch, like the draft pick. And I think it's worked out for DJ. I think he's only going to get better. And I like the way he plays in terms of the attitude he brings to the secondary.
Yeah, no. And the biggest thing is some of those contested catches, if he's strong enough, that was one of the questions coming out. There wasn't any question about the athleticism. And like you said, his ability to come up and hit, people were worried, was he going to break down, because he is not that big of a human being compared to the last guy we talked about, and DeJuan Jones.
That's 3-1. 3 DJs make 1-1.
If 3, I would go 4. But he's showing that he is a tough kid, that he comes up, and my biggest thing is just getting stronger in those contested situations.
All right, I agree. Let's take a quick break, though, and when we come back, we're going to talk about 5 rookies each. We gave them grades, second rounders, and see how they graded out 3/4 of the way through the season right after this.
Sunday, the race to the playoffs is on, with the Bucs heading to Lambeau to face the Packers, and key matchups featuring the Dolphins and 49ers. We can't wait. The NFL is on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
All right, Rick. Let's start with the future face of the franchise, the current face of the franchise, I should say, for the Tennessee Titans. Will Levis, perhaps the toughest man in football with some of the hits he's taken. He's played pretty well. That last game was certainly a fun one to watch, the last 2 minutes especially. So we'll go through your guys, and then we'll go through my guys. Will Levis, what do you got? What's his grade, first off? Let's start there.
I gave him a B with trending towards an A. And because of the signature win in Miami and what you saw in the fourth quarter and the improbability of Tennessee coming back and winning that game when they were down by 2 scores with 3 minutes left to go in the game. So kudos to Will Levis. Some of the throws he made, no-look throw for the touchdown, the 2-point conversion that was uncovered. But the reason for the B is because he's still making those rookie mistakes. The interception, pick 6 on the screen, some of the other things that are still kind of rookie bonehead mistakes. But even in the Indianapolis overtime game, there was some good, but there's also some bad. I still want to see him continue to develop as a quarterback in the pocket. He has improved his touch because I didn't think he had any touch coming out of Kentucky, and we talked about that when we were at his pro day last year. But he seems to be the leader of that football team by the energy, and he can't take the hits he's taking, though, because he's not going. I don't care how Superman you rocked up, you look like, those hits are going to eventually start wearing on your body. And he has to learn to be a little bit smarter. I know that is his signature, sending a message to the rest of that locker room down there that if we're going to go down, we're going to go down swinging. And he sure in the heck is going to go down swinging if he's going to go down. But he is trending up towards an A for me, especially with that signature win down in Miami.
And we should make it clear you don't do pluses or minuses, so that's why he got a straight B.
Yes. I do
All
not do pluses. It's a principle thing with me.
It's a
Since it
principle.
wasn't.
You are, if nothing else, a man of principle. Let me ask you to rank the rookie quarterbacks.
CJ. Let's get a little dicey. He's played better than Bryce Young has at this point.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't, I mean, he has D-Hop, who's been on fire as of late. But he doesn't have, and he has King Henry in the backfield, which helps, but he is making other players around him better.
That's right. Yep. No, that's right. And there are very few bright spots for the Carolina Panthers right now. And Will Levis, whether you think he, weird for mayonnaise and eat bananas with the peel on or not, that team is buying in and he's playing well. And also goes to show you, not so much Bryce, I'm thinking more like Mac Jones, for example. You may not have every box checked just yet as a rookie quarterback, but it certainly helps when you can throw a ball 4,000 miles an hour and make some of the off-platform throws that he can make where other quarterbacks don't even have a chance of even attempting it with their arm coming off.
No, and sometimes it's a little bit, you don't know where the ball's going.
Right.
But he is making throws that are making difference in games.
Absolutely. That's all you want. So redraft, he's going in the first round for you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You made fun of me last week when I had him going 7 to the Raiders. The Raiders would drive over to Nashville and pick him up right now if he could play tonight.
If he continues to play the way he played in that fourth quarter.
Yeah. Just got to bottle that up and sell it.
Yeah.
Make a lot of money. All right. Your next player you're going to grade here. We just talked about him. I can only imagine what the grade's going to be. Sam Laporta.
A.
Tight end for the Lions. Yeah, he's an A, and he should be an A+, but somebody doesn't give pluses. But whatever.
Because it's a principle thing, and because Debo never stated in the directions when he gives us homework that you can use pluses or minuses. So I refuse to now bend the rules.
Debo, let me ask you, what do you take away from someone who says it's a principle to not use pluses or minuses when passing out grades?
I don't concern myself with those people very often.
It is quite the hill to die on, as they say, Rick. But hey, man, you're monkey, you're a circus. All right. Sam Laporta gets an A. I don't think anyone pushed back on that. Another first-round pick, or should have been first-round pick. And in case you're wondering how we came up with these names, Debo just picked them out of a hat and then passed them out, and then we're grading them. So there's no rhyme or reason in terms of whether Rick and I want to talk about these players. Although Rick very well may have requested every Detroit Lion. Brings us to our next selection here.
On this podcast, we are neutral to all 32 NFL teams.
That's a disclaimer. Safety Brian Branch, nickelback, actually. Great start to the season. Had that pick 6 in week 1 against Patrick Mahomes. We talk about it all the time. Ran the 4.58 at the combine. Didn't run again at his pro day. And that had everything to do, I would imagine, with why he fell to the second round. Because, again, just like DeJuan Jones, he was in the first-round conversation and media-wise for the longest time, and then the 4.58 came out. Because he's a great kid, plays hard, incredibly smart. We know all the things here. But how has his first season been at the three-quarter poll, Rick?
Yeah, no, well, he had a little setback with an ankle sprain, missed 2 weeks with the ankle sprain, and then came back, didn't look as explosive out of his transition or closing, but over these last 3 or 4 games has looked back to completely healthy. Had a big interception down in New Orleans to help seal the win down there. Great open field tackler. They can use him in multiple spots. I saw him lined up at safety one game and breaking to a post corner route, and the range and his ability to read the quarterback's eyes to get a jump on the throw for another PBU. So he is a difference maker on the defense. He can play man, very aware in zone coverage. He checks every box that you're looking for when you watch his tape. And he should have definitely redrafted, would have been a first-round pick.
What grade do you want to give him?
A.
In the redraft that we did a few weeks ago, you had him going to the Steelers, which I absolutely loved.
Yeah. Yeah, he'd have been a great pick there.
Next up.
And I think, I even thought that at the time that he would have been a great fit in Green Bay as well. Because I think
Yeah.
in our
We
mock
love him.
drafts, we had him projected to Green Bay as well.
All right, next up. Ole Miss wide receiver Jonathan Mingo went 39th overall in the second round to the Carolina Panthers. And we talk about him every week because we talk about Bryce every week. And he struggled at times, and I'm not going to dump on the kid. I have to preface every time I talk about Mingo with that, but he has some room for improvement. Would you agree with that?
Yes, C. I gave him a C. And I thought, even watching this last game, he got open down the field, which is becoming more comfortable with routes. Bryce missed some throws. It should have been touchdown throws to him. But then a slant route and an in-breaking route, both I thought were drops that he needs to come up with, especially with a receiver of that physical stature. He needs to make sure that he can shield the defender away from the ball, and you be the guy to go get the ball. He has a tendency to still let the ball wait till it gets into his body instead of extending and catching. I mean, he had 9 targets, but only 2 catches in this last game. It was a hitch and a bubble screen. So I think he's improving. Looks like he's playing faster than he was earlier in the season when we broke him down, but still needs to be more consistent, especially catching the ball in tight windows.
Yeah, we've talked about him to death at this point. The route running was all over the place. But you've also mentioned that a lot of times when you're a rookie, especially a wide receiver, you're too busy thinking and not playing.
Yes, because you're thinking about the steps, you're thinking about the route concepts instead of, all right, I know it, just go out and get open and catch the ball. Do what you do with the ball in your hands afterwards.
So hopefully he keeps making the moves in the right direction because, he was a game changer for Ole Miss in terms of his athleticism and ability to make plays. Gave him a C. So is you still taking him second round, 39th overall, or probably a little later?
Later.
Yeah.
I would take in Tank Dell before him.
Yeah, how about that? That's a huge step.
Before him.
Yep.
Yeah, you could probably go through that receivers that you said that there's a lot of receivers that probably would have went before him.
All right, let's look real quick. Let's see what we got here. So first receiver taken, we had those 4 guys go, of course. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Quentin Johnson, Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, all went back to back in the first round. The very next wide receiver taken was Mingo. And so I'll read you who goes off the board next, and you can tell me when you'll take Mingo over this player. Jaden Reed for the Packers.
Reed.
Right. Rashee Rice for the Chiefs.
Rice.
Marvin Mims for Denver. He's been up and down. He's done some return stuff.
Mims.
Wow. Tank Dell. Jalen Hyatt for the Giants, who's coming on lately.
Hyatt.
Really? You think so? He does provide a deep threat, and that's exactly what you need in Carolina. So, okay, you got me on that one. Ced Tillman, I haven't watched closely with Cedric, so I don't know how often he's used in Cleveland.
He hasn't been. He catches the ball a little bit more consistently than Mingo, similar type style, I guess I would say. So 50-50.
Okay, and I'll do 2 more so I can get to my guy there. Josh Downs, UNC, who's in Indianapolis.
Downs.
And then Michael Wilson out of Stanford, who's actually, we have not talked about him. And Devo, let's do it before the end of the season because he's actually had a really good under-the-radar season.
Yeah, when he plays.
Okay.
He's hurt all the time.
Maybe he's just saving up.
Okay.
All right, so Michael Wilson or Mingo?
Mingo, just for principle.
I knew it. All right. Well, the conversation got off to a good start there, but your point is taken. So he would have been not wide receiver 5, but closer probably to wide receiver 10 or 12.
Yes.
In the redraft here. All right. Your last player to grade, rookie second rounder, Tui Pelotu, who has been a lot of fun. We talked to him at the combine, under the radar throughout the process, but he is under the radar no more, it feels like.
No, and he's been on a little bit of a sack drought, but he's still been disruptive.
Mm-hmm.
He had 2 sacks. I went back and watched the Jets game, and he was on fire against a very porous New York Jets offensive line. Zach Wilson was running around for his life, but he was an A. And then down the stretch here a little bit, they put him over the guard. They stand him up. They put him everywhere, and he's still rushing hard. He just hasn't had the same production. And I just like to see him a little bit more violent at the point. So I could have very easily given him an A. Because he's tailed off just a hair I put him down to a B, but I would not argue with an A on him.
Second round, 54th overall pick. Looking here at some of the defensive ends, one ahead of him. Yeah, let's start there. So Nolan Smith, you're taking Thule before Nolan.
Yes.
Felix Anudike Uzama, who went to the end of the first round to the Chiefs.
Yes.
Derek Hall went to Seattle 37.
Yes.
B.J. Ojulari's having a great season for Arizona.
Yes.
And he went 41st. So right around that range. Yeah, it's been fun to watch. I'm glad that he's doing as well as he is. I liked him coming out, but
we just didn't know where we're going to line him up, inside or
That's
outside.
right.
You're going to put 20 pounds on him or keep him light and let him rush the edge. That was a lot of the questions going into the draft.
Similarly, Lucas Van Ness went in the first round to the Packers. Would you rather have Thule or Lucas? Because Lucas isn't having a bad season, but he's not having quite the productive season of Thule.
No, I think Tui's a better pass rusher, natural pass rusher.
Okay. All right, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll get to my – oh, boy. A man's got to have a code. There you go, Devo.
Does that mean principal?
That means principal.
I'm going to use the word – can I use the word code going forward?
Yeah, that sounds like you're from the streets. You say code.
Rick, I'll give you $1 if you know what show that's from.
He might know.
I'm going to take a wild guess. Tupac. Like
That's not Tupac. That's Chalky White, who he passed away last year, I think, because of a drug overdose. I don't remember his real name. That's the Baltimore show, Debo. That I can't remember the name of either. Two old people trying to remember.
Baltimore show. Oh my God.
I can't remember. What's it called?
That would be The Wire, the
The Wire,
second
thank
greatest TV show of all time.
I thought it was the streets of New York.
Is that a real show?
I don't know.
What are you doing to us, Debo?
This guy's got to get off a Hallmark.
We're like the two old guys in the Muppets up there in the stands yelling at people, not knowing what we're talking
Go
about.
see the world.
I see the
Baltimore
world
show.
through Hallmark.
You watch it's the same script every movie.
That's
you
what's
can
crazy.
be a
to me.
librarian and live in like a $5 million Victorian home and only work at the library. I want to get a job like that.
That is funny. Like, you like it. Charles Davis likes Hallmark. I want to know what the demographic breakdown is for people who like Hallmark and why. But that's a
Men
conversation.
Late after 50.
I don't know, man. It's I don't get it.
You know, I've been through so much in my life as a general
Yeah.
manager, dealing with so much. It's nice to watch happy endings all the time.
So you like mindless like things that don't require you to put too much thought into it. Is that what you're saying? And it ends.
There's a lot of thought that has to go into this. When is the breaking point where that's always at the 20 minutes left to go in a show when everything just goes to the shiter. Last night it was. She went back and then she wanted to go spend time with her fiance, but she fell in love with the guy that runs the youth center in Nantucket or wherever the heck it was, Martha's Vineyard.
Oh boy.
And there was snow. It was a Christmas show, and then she decides that she goes back to St. Louis, and her fiance is so tied up into his work, and he's missing the point. And she says that he changed. He says he didn't. Gives the engagement ring back. Everything's going over. Then her aunt sets her up to come back to Nantucket to come spend Christmas with him. They get him hooked back up with the guy she met that runs the youth center, and the rest is history.
Indeed. If anyone is still listening or watching this podcast, I thank you and applaud you.
Top age group, 55 to 64. So Rick, smack
you're-
dab in that.
You're
Right
the
in
sweet
there.
spot. Holy Moses. How about that? Who knew?
27% male. So
Wow. Okay. So that is right in your wheelhouse. Fair enough. Again, I apologize on behalf of people who came here for draft coverage, but Rick had to get that out of the system. Anyway, a new word.
I have a tear and then I go to bed.
Yeah, you were emotional, even recounting it. I could tell. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, hopefully we'll get to my grades of my 5 rookie second rounders and probably some more Hallmark talk right after this.
Wake up to football highlights and news from around the world with the one and only Morning Footy team.
Rise and shine, football fans. Welcome to Morning Footy.
Start your all-day football craze with Morning Footy, part of the all-new Golazo Network.
All right, let's get to my 5 rookie second-round picks and grade those guys. Let's start off with Joey Porter Jr. Went 1 pick ahead of Will Levis at the top of the second round. 32nd overall because the Dolphins were stripped of their first-round pick. And Rick, as you noted at the time, Joey Porter should be upset for a number of reasons. The biggest one being that he lost out on some money in the 5-year contract potential.
But a positive, they can't put that 5th-year option on him.
And the way he's playing, that's great news for Joey Porter Jr. because he has been a revelation for that Steelers secondary. Didn't play early in the year, played limited snaps, and then they needed him, put him out there, and acted like he was playing at Penn State. And it's been fun to watch. I went back and watched all his targets. And he long, we knew that. He's physical. But you talked about this during the draft process. One of my concerns was that he was so physical downfield that he was going to get flagged all the time. He's had a couple of penalties, maybe 3, I think is what I counted, in coverage, and I can live with that. But he's always at the catch point because he's so long. He's more physical than I thought in terms of making tackles. He struggled at times with that, but I think he's gotten a little better. I legit think that if there's a redraft, he'd be a top 15 pick.
Yeah, we liked him coming out. He was one of our top corners coming out, and he's carrying on the legacy of his father with the Steelers. And just the energy and effort that he plays with is fun to watch him play.
I gave him an A+. One of the things I did note, and there were some concerns about his change of direction. You can get him on in-breaking routes if you give him a little outside move and beat him inside. And I don't know if that's the end of the world. Everything else he does is really good. But that's just something that I noticed and went back to some of the pre-draft concerns, if you even want to call it that. But everything else, A+ for me. And again, top 15 pick because he comes in right away, presses you up, and is physical throughout the route. All right. Way to go, Joey Porter Jr. Can you play quarterback for the Steelers? That's the next question. All right, next up, Keon White, another guy that we liked during the draft process. Georgia Tech transfer. Where did he transfer from? He transferred. Old Dominion. He was Old Dominion transfer. Went to Georgia Tech, and 290. He played as a 5 technique. They line him up all over the place in New England. Out wide, they'll even put him over at 3 technique. He's not as twitchy as I remember, and he flashed in the preseason. We talked about him then. I like the way he's played, but I would like to have seen a little more consistency. Sometimes he can struggle to get up blocks. He made a fantastic tackle in space against the Dolphins. It was a end around. He was playing 9 technique. He stood his ground and then made an open field tackle on Raheem Mostert, I believe, in the backfield for a tackle for loss. Great play, but it just hasn't been there consistently. Now, he can shoot gaps. He can take on double teams and occasionally split them, but it hasn't been the Tuli Pelotu type production that we've seen. So I gave him a B.
A little tight. I agree with you there. And I think he is powerful. I still think he's trying to adjust to 5 tech because he was lined up as an end coming out of Georgia Tech. So I think some of that is, and in New England's defense, they really never have, like Judon was made a Pro Bowl because he was a great edge rusher, but none of their inside guys, the last one, maybe Richard Seymour, that played kind of that 5 tech, have really, they play good team defense, but I don't know if that system's built for individual stats, especially for like 5 techs or nose tackles or things like that because of what they asked him to do. But I think he's a good football player.
Also worth noting, when you lose Matthew Judon on one end, that makes your job a lot harder. And Judon's been out he's done.
A long time.
Yeah,
Yep.
So I that's worth noting as well. So I gave him a B. Again, I like him too. We liked him throughout the process. Nice guy to talk to for sure. Next up, Michael Mayer, 10th, 2nd round pick, 10th player taken in that 2nd round. He is way more athletic than I remember thinking he was in the process. And I didn't think he was a bad athlete, but we didn't talk about him the same way we talked about Dalton Kincaid or even Sam Laporta, certainly not Kyle Pitts if you go back a few years ago. But he made the top rookie of the week list a few weeks ago, and we talked about how, at least I thought he's a little athletic in space, better than I thought. They line him up all over the place. He's becoming more and more a target of whoever the quarterback is going to be there. It's going to be Aiden O'Connell, it looks like, again this week. I gave him a B+.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think he is a little twitchier than we thought, especially into some of his routes. We knew he was very good in contested situations, can catch the ball. I still don't think he's as dynamic with the ball in his hands after the catch. And I wish he was just a little bit more consistent as a run blocker. Those are probably the concerns I have with him, but I'm not going to argue with your grade because I'm not.
Thank you. All right, next up, Zach Charbonnet. I'm glad Debo put Zach on the list. We talked about him a moment ago. He was drafted ahead of Achan, excuse me. 52nd player taken in the second round, UCLA by way of Michigan. And I remember watching him over last year and not loving him. And I would talk to some West Coast scout about him, and they said, this kid's good. So I went back and watched his snaps this year. And again, God, he's twitchier than I remember. He makes guys miss in the open field, and then he runs over the last person standing if he's in the way. There's no other option there. He's a very patient in the backfield, one cut, and then hits the hole. And by the way, they run a lot of zone up front. That offensive line, and the runs that I watched with Zach at least, have done a consistent job of creating holes for him to run through. And then he gets to the second level, and he's just either juking guys or trading guys that don't get out of his way. I was incredibly impressed with what he's brought to that team, especially with Ken Walker III injured at times, and then that 1-2 punch with on the field together. I give him a B+.
You are right on there, Mr. Wilson.
You actually sound sincere.
No, I'm not.
Oh, you love him. Go ahead.
Good football player, good running back, very good vision for a big back. He does have ability to make defenders miss. Agree with all that. I would say that he's not nearly as dynamic in space or as a receiver than Walker is, but Walker seems to have injuries all the time. So great 1B type back for Seattle, but not near the dynamic playmaker that Walker can be.
Yep, absolutely. I was just looking at my notes here. He ranks third among rookie running backs in first down runs. He has 29, and those are 31% of his carries. I should probably stop while I'm ahead here, but I thought he was a twitchier Tyler Algier.
Yes, I agree with you 100%.
You're still emotional from the Hallmark movie. You can't summon the energy to be yelling and screaming at me. All right, B+.
It's just getting packed down there for 33 more days.
Oh, and then it's going to volcano up, huh? So second round still feels about the spot you're taking Zach. You're not going to sneak him into the first round.
No.
All right, next up, my last rookie that I'm going to grade, Rashee Rice. And I was not a fan of Rashee during the draft process. And by that, I mean, I didn't think he was going to be a top 50 pick. I had some questions. Just because of the way he played at SMU. I know he ran fast, but he didn't consistently, for me, create separation. And that was one of my concerns down the field. But he was the 55th player taken, second round. And he's outplayed that. And he's outplayed that in part because he's the only show in town on the wide receiver position outside of Travis Kelce. But he's gotten better each and every week. Now, what they do is they throw him the ball in the flat. They throw him the ball in quick screens and say, just go do it. He can run the routes downfield. He's gotten some scramble drill passes that he's caught downfield and turned them into touchdowns. But it feels like the game plan with Andy Reid is get the ball in his hands and just let him take over and make it simple. And let me ask you this. Is that easier for a young receiver to do? Just run a screen or a flat as opposed to
think. Yeah. Put the ball in your hand, and then he's more athletic and twitchier after the catch than I thought he was going to be. But we, on another entity that I work on, we had a guest on that was covers the Kansas City Chiefs. And they said, watch this kid down the stretch because he's going to end up making a difference for the Kansas City Chiefs. And he has gotten better as the season's gone along. I still have little concerns with his drops, although he's catching the ball more consistently. But I think that with Kelce, he may emerge as the next playmaker on the offense if he continues to ascend the way he's ascending.
Let me ask you this. Speaking of Kelce, quickly, people are saying that maybe he's the light. It's not the light at the end of the tunnel. The end of the tunnel's there and the exit door's there. Is there any concern about him being closer to the end?
No, especially when I saw him make the unique lateral pass to win the game, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, Tony was lined up offside, which is bizarro land to me. But no, I think he may have gotten bitten by the love bug, but he's still playing at a high level.
Do you honestly think that might be a consideration, or are you just saying that?
I'm just saying that. I don't
Okay, I didn't know if that was something that you would be worried about if you were in the building.
No.
Okay.
I'm sure it's a little bit of a distraction, because it's every time she comes around, it's a media circus,
Yeah.
but it's not affecting the way he plays. He actually still plays pretty good. In fact, he's
Okay.
better with her in the stands than he is without her in the stands.
Yeah,
Or
go
I
figure.
should say, she doesn't sit in the stands.
Right. She's sitting in the Jake Browning family suite. They got his family up there. That was nice of Joe Burrow. By the way, quickly, Debo informs me a little breaking news, at least as we're recording this at noon on Thursday, December 14th. Jalen Milroe, Alabama quarterback, confirms that he will be returning for his senior year. You agree with that?
100%.
And I'll put this out there. I don't know if I said it on the podcast, but I said it elsewhere. I am going to contend that Jalen Milroe will be the best quarterback on the field against Michigan when we evaluate these quarterbacks 5 years from now.
In this game coming up?
I think 5 years from now, we will look back and say, oh, Jalen Milroe ended up being a better quarterback than J.J. McCarthy in the NFL.
All right. Are you ready for my comparison?
Yeah.
Which is bizarro land, but I think he is starting to show traits of a Jalen Hurts.
Okay, I don't hate that. I thought you were going to say something like truly great, like Tom Brady or something. No, Jalen Hurts, I could see. That's what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He just needs to improve his passing, more accuracy, but he throws a great deep ball. He's a unique athlete, and he is big.
Is he a better athlete than Jalen Hurts?
I think he may be a little twitchier. Yeah. Jalen Hurts was a really good athlete, but what made Jalen Hurts is he continued to improve his accuracy as a passer, and he had some weapons around him. And I think that Milroe is on that same trajectory. But if he comes out this year, he's behind all those other quarterbacks. So he made a very wise decision to come back, and then will probably be in consideration for QB1 next year if he continues to trend the way he's trending.
I mean, he was in consideration for the Heisman this year, so that'll also be in the running, potential QB1. And I'll say this, tell me if you agree with this. The two players that helped themselves the most in terms of improvement in 2023, the college football season, number one, Jaden Daniel, number two, Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, but I think Jaden Milroe is, if he can take a step like Jaden Daniel did, then
watch out.
Watch out. He has to take that next step though.
Because I remember watching Jalen Milroe in the early part of the season going, you can't win like this.
He got benched.
He got benched. They brought in everybody and their brother. Tyler Buckner went back to play lacrosse. He was so disillusioned with the whole experience. And Milroe came back and he got better each and every week. And I could not believe the player he was at the end there.
Night and day difference between what he was at the beginning and even when I saw him down there in summer camp and in spring ball, I was like, these dudes aren't going to have a chance. They don't get a quarterback. And they have a really good football team. But the quarterback has made a difference down the stretch for him.
Yeah. So the lesson I would tell you, Rick, is that don't judge a book by its cover. You got to give him time.
Okay, thank you. Let me put a note on that somewhere.
Yeah, write that down somewhere. In your brand new shiny office.
Who has a better year at Notre Dame? Sam Hartman, what he just did this past year, or Riley Leonard next year?
My guy, Riley Leonard, going to Notre Dame, Rick.
Riley Leonard is a night and day better athlete than Sam Hartman.
Sam put up some numbers, though.
Yeah, I just don't know if he's going to throw as well, but he has a stronger arm, and if he can improve his accuracy, he'll be up there. Though it may be a stronger this is, I believe, a strong quarterback class. If Riley Leonard comes along, and Milroe, and if Sanders comes back to school, Colorado, there's going to be some good quarterbacks next year. Just the way it's starting to shape up right now.
We got to see what Quinn Ewers does.
Yeah,
getting excited about DJ Uiagalelei at Florida State potentially, or
absolutely not.
Ward elsewhere. Grayson McCall at NC State. Tyler Van Dyke at Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin. Yeah. Who'd Nebraska get? Are they getting McCord?
They're trying to
flip this top Georgia kid.
It's Raioli.
Raiola. Yeah, that's
Raiola.
right. Dominic's son, correct? I think, right?
Yes.
Wow. You're right, Rick. This class, wow, it could be shaping up to be something special. Do we know anything about Quinn Ewers? Has he said anything one way or the other? We thought he was coming back.
He's going to Final Four. Why would he say anything right now?
Because with the Perfect Podcast has questions. That would be my answer to
Malik
him.
Murphy, their backup, entered the transfer portal yesterday.
Backup
So,
for who, Debo?
Texas.
Oh, right. Malik Murphy did. That's interesting. So I would
'Cause
imagine.
Arch was third string.
Yeah, so Malik played when Quinn was hurt in the fall. Arch didn't see the field, but I'm guessing the conversation probably was, listen, Arch is number 2, worst case, Rick, and that's why Malik left?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not he took his redshirt year.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it. So that's a lot of moving and shaking and stuff that we'll talk about throughout the process, but mark it down, Debo. Rick has been the first person to say that next year's draft class, quarterback-wise, could be better than this one, and I think he's on to something. Those Hallmark movies are paying off.
You didn't even bring up Drew Aller.
Oh, we didn't bring up Debo's Drew Aller. If they let him throw the ball overhand, then I think he's in the conversation. Won't let him throw the ball.
That's a conversation for July.
Great. We're already starting on summer scouting school. Can we get through this process?
No, we cannot.
It's like I said, it's like the what is it? The Great China Wall of China.
Great Wall of China.
one brick at a time.
Oh my gosh.
You got Senior Bowl coming up. I gotta get through all the Senior Bowl guys that are going down there. It's never ending.
There's a lot of work to do. I was thinking about that today too. But hey, that's why we're doing the podcast to make everyone else's life easier. Rick, you got to suffer for others to have success.
I have always been the guy that are there to boost others up, and the self-esteem coach, the guy to be there for the support. Everything that I do on this podcast has been my life.
Is for the betterment of everyone else. And I get on my knees every day and thank baby Jesus that you're my self-esteem coach.
And
right.
doctor.
And what? Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Worst bedside manner in medical history.
Suck it up. My God. I don't care. That was I told you the when I got dad of the year, when my son, my older son fell on my younger son, and my wife called me and I was at work, and she says his leg is like, and his thigh is like swollen. It looks like he's got a basketball in there. I said, he probably got a Charlie horse. Just put some ice on it.
Oh gosh. So
she goes to the store, comes back, and he's been icing it, and he screams every time he moves, and it's like the size of a beach ball now. I've never seen a thigh so swollen. So I said, just bring him in, and I'll have the trainer look at him. So he couldn't get out of the cart. I had to carry him. I actually put him in one of those office wheelchairs from the parking lot, wheeled him in on an office wheelchair, took him down to the training room. In 3 seconds, the trainer looked at him and says, you need to get him to the hospital right away. I said, it's a Charlie horse. He had a compound fracture. He needed 2 rods.
Yeah. He broke his femur?
Yes.
Whoa. Oh my God. You told him to put ice on it.
Yeah. Suck it up. My God. I mean, I see guys play like with this all the time. It's a Charlie horse.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
He went into emergency surgery and had 2 rods put into his leg.
That's serious. And oh my gosh.
But
lesson learned.
Yeah. It's not, it's got to toughen up.
Toughen up, rub some dirt on it. That's what they used to say, Devo. All right. Well, I was going to tell my story about when you yelled at me about eating pancakes late at night. That's nothing compared to a broken femur.
No, don't break your femur if we're out traveling together this spring.
Or make sure you break it to the point that there's no coming back, because Rick is not going to be able to diagnose it properly.
Oh, I'll diagnose it.
Not properly.
I will diagnose it. I'll guarantee you that.
All right. That's it. We are done. That is episode 106, Rick. Getting there. Thanks as always to all of you who watch and listen and comment, of course. And thanks to my guy, Rick. Thanks to Debo for producing. Debo, do we know what's on the schedule for next week? Or is that going to be a surprise?
We are obviously going to look at week 15 rookies and then peek ahead at bowl season and what we're excited, superlatives, and look ahead.
Awesome. All right. Well, we look forward to that. Have a great weekend, everyone, and we'll see you then.